or $500 per year they award to some good young citizen. The lists of these scholarships can be bought online, and there are even a few software programs you can purchase. Denise, the listener to my show, took my advice, bought one of the software programs, and worked the system. She spent the whole summer filling out applications and writing essays. She literally applied for 1,000 scholarships. Denise was turned down by 970, but she got 30. And those 30 scholarships paid her $38,000. She went to school for free, while her next-door neighbor sat and whined that no money was available for school and eventually got a student loan. If you walk your way up these baby steps, you can send your kids to school without debt. Even if you start late, perseverance and resourcefulness can get them through school. Chapter 11. Pay off the home mortgage. Be ultra fit. I have a good friend who runs marathons. As you reach baby step 6, you reach marathoner status in the wealth-building world. You have run the good race, but you aren't done. Bruce, my marathon friend, tells me that at about the 18th mile mark, runners begin to lock up. The highly trained and conditioned body starts talking to you about stopping. Big black clouds of doubt enter the mentally tough and trained competitive mind. You begin to think things like, 18 miles is pretty good. Few others can accomplish that. If you aren't really careful, the good enough can become the enemy of the best. Bad is seldom the enemy of the best, but mediocrity with a dose of doubt can keep you from excellence. Finishing well can be more important than starting well. At this point in your total money makeover, you are debt-free except the house, and you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved for emergencies. You are putting 15% of your income into retirement savings, and you are investing for your kids' college education. You are now one of the top 5 to 10% of Americans because you have some wealth, have a plan, and are under control. At this point in your total money makeover, you are in grave danger. You are in danger of settling for the good enough. You are at the 18-mile mark of a marathon, and now that it is time to reach for the really big gold ring, the final 2 baby steps could seem out of your reach. Let me assure you that many have seen this point. Some have stopped and regretted it. Others have stayed gazelle intense long enough to finish the race. The latter have looked and seen just one major hurdle left, after which they can walk with pride among the ultra-fit elite who have finished the total money makeover. Baby step 6. Pay off your home mortgage. The final hurdle before you turn the corner for the last few miles is to become completely debt-free. No payments. I have said it before, and I will repeat myself until you hear me. If you invested what you pay in monthly payments, you'd be a debt-free millionaire before long. Every dollar in your budget that you can find above living, retirement, and college should be used to make extra payments on your home. Attack that home mortgage with gazelle intensity. Anytime I speak about paying off mortgages, people give me that special look. They think I'm crazy. Most people believe all the mortgage myths. Yes, we must dispel a few more myths. There are 2 really big, quote, reasons that keep seemingly intelligent people, like me for years, from paying off mortgages. So we will start with those. Big reason number 1, myth. It is wise to keep my home mortgage to get the tax deduction. True. Tax deductions are no bargain. We discussed tax deduction math when we looked at car fleeces. Let's review. If you have a home with a payment of around $900 and the interest portion is $830 per month, you have paid around $10,000 in interest that year, which creates a tax deduction. If instead you have a debt-free home, you would in fact lose the tax deduction. So the myth says, keep your home mortgage because of tax advantages. This situation is one more opportunity to discover if your CPA can add. If you do not have a $10,000 tax deduction and you are in a 30% bracket, you will have to pay $3,000 in taxes on that $10,000. According to the myth, we should send $10,000 in interest to the bank so we don't have to send $3,000 in taxes to the IRS. Personally, I think I will live debt-free and not make a $10,000 trade for $3,000. However, any of you who want $3,000 of your taxes paid, just email me and I will personally pay $3,000 of your taxes. As soon as your check for $10,000 clears into my bank account, I can add. Big reason number 2, myth. It is wise to borrow all I can on my home or continually refinance for cash out because of the great interest rates and then invest the money. Truth. You don't really make anything when the smoke clears. This one is a little complicated, but if you follow me, you will have intellectually grasped why so many people have fallen into a financial pit. The myth that I was taught in academia is to use lower interest debt to invest in higher return investments. Sadly, some, quote, financial planners have told Americans to borrow on their home at around 8% to invest in good growth stock mutual funds averaging 12% because you make an easy 4% spread. Mutual funds are awesome investments, and as I have said, I personally have tons of money invested in good growth stock mutual funds. The problem with this myth is that the assumption used to get that 4% spread or profit on investing is wrong. Let's look at borrowing $100,000 on your home to invest. If you borrowed at 8%, you would pay $8,000 in interest. And if you invested the $100,000 you borrowed on your home and made 12%, you would make $12,000 in return, netting you $4,000. Or would you? Where I live, if you make $12,000 on an investment, you will pay taxes. If you are in a 30% tax bracket, you will pay $3,600 in taxes at ordinary income rates, or $2,400 if you invest at capital gains rates. So you will not net $4,000, but instead $400 to $1,600. But we aren't through yet. If I own the home next to you and have no debt, and you, because of your investment advisor guy, borrowed $100,000 on your home, who has taken more risk? When the economy moves south, and there is war or rumors of war, when you get sick or have a car wreck or are downsized, you will run into major problems with a $100,000 mortgage that I will never have. So debt causes risk to increase. Since debt causes increased risk, we must mathematically factor in a reduction in return if we are sophisticated investors. If you can make 12% on a mutual fund, and I try to get you to invest in a bet on the roulette wheel, which will return you 500%, you would automatically say the two don't compare. Why? Risk. Common sense tells you not to compare mutual funds and roulette wheel returns without adjusting the returns for risk. Common sense tells you to discount the 500% upside of the roulette wheel because of risk. After discounting the roulette wheel for risk, you would rather have the mutual fund. Good choice. Actually, this is done in academia as well. Graduate-level financial people are taught mathematical formulas to make risky investments compare apples to apples with safer investments after adjustment for risk. We just never apply that formula to a debt-free home versus a mortgaged and invested home, which is very naive. The bottom line is that after adjusting for taxes and across your paid-for grass in the backyard. It feels different. Common sense. Myth. Take out a 30-year mortgage and promise yourself to pay it like a 15-year, so if something goes wrong, you'll have wiggle room. Truth. Something will go wrong. One thing I am sure of, in my total money makeover, I had to quit telling myself that I had innate discipline and a fabulous natural self-control. That is a lie. I have to put systems and programs in place that make me do smart things. A big part of being strong financially is that you know where you are weak and take action to make sure you don't fall prey to the weaknesses. And we are all weak. Sick children, bad transmissions, prom dresses, high heat bills, and dog vaccinations come up, and you won't make the extra payment. Grow up. The FDIC says that 97.3% of people don't systematically prepay extra on their mortgage. If you have a $110,000 mortgage at a 7% interest rate, you will pay $732 per month for 30 years for a grand total of $263,520 over the life of the mortgage. If you pay back the same mortgage in 15 years, you will pay $988 per month, but only pay $177,840 over the life of the mortgage. You save $85,680. $256 more per month, and you will save almost $100,000 and 15 years of bondage. The really interesting thing I have observed is that 15-year mortgages always pay off in 15 years. If you must take out a mortgage, pretend only 15-year mortgages exist. Myth. It is wise to use the lower rates offered by an ARM mortgage or balloon mortgage if you know you'll be moving in a few years anyway. Truth. You will be moving when they foreclose. The adjustable rate mortgage, in which your interest rate goes up when prevailing market interest rates go up, was born to transfer the risk of higher interest rates to you, the consumer. In the last several years, home mortgage rates have been at a 30 or 40-year low. It is not wise to get something that adjusts when you're at the bottom rates. Balloon mortgages are even worse. Balloons pop. And it is always strange to me that the popping sound is so startling. Why don't we expect it? It is in the very nature of balloons to pop. When your entire mortgage is due in 36 or 60 months, you send out engraved invitations to Murphy. Myth. The home equity loan is good to have instead of an emergency fund. Truth. Again, emergencies are precisely when you don't need debt. The home equity loan is one of the most aggressively marketed loans today. The average American in debt to his eyeballs has exhausted all means of borrowing except the big second mortgage on his home. This is very sad, as we now put our homes at risk to go on vacation, open a business, consolidate debt, or just for an emergency fund. Families come to us in dire straits when the home equity loan is their last bad mistake and the straw that breaks the camel's back. The banking industry calls these home equity loans HELs for short. My experience tells me they simply left off the nail. These loans are very dangerous, and an unbelievable amount of them are in foreclosure. Even a conservative person who doesn't have credit card debt and pays cash for vacations can make the mistake of the HEL by setting up a loan or line of credit just for emergencies. Most HELs are renewable annually, meaning they re-qualify you for the loan once a year. Ed and Sally didn't realize this. Ed was a very sophisticated financial guy, or so he thought. So he had an HEL for emergencies. Sally had a bad car wreck, and within 3 months, Ed got downsized. They quickly went through the HEL, and then got behind in their bills. The annual renewal came on the HEL, and the bank chose not to renew their loan because of their bad credit, which had been perfect for the previous 17 years of marriage. The bank called the note. Ed couldn't believe the out when they were down. The note being called meant they had to refinance to pay off the bank. But guess what? They couldn't because the credit was bad. The end result was very sad. They sold their home to avoid foreclosure. Ed was wrong. They should have had an emergency fund instead of a loan. Men, you can't pay cash for a home. Truth. Bet me. I don't borrow money. Ever. Luke called me from Cleveland to tell me that some of our listeners are doing what Sharon and I have done. The 100% down plan. Pay cash. Most people don't think that can be done. Luke did it. Luke made really good money. His income at 23 years old was $50,000, and he married a young lady making $30,000. His grandfather had preached to him never to borrow money. So Luke and his new bride lived in a very small apartment over a rich lady's garage. They paid only $250 a month for it. They lived on nothing and did nothing that cost money, and they saved. Man, did they save. Making $80,000 in the household, they saved $50,000 a year for 3 years and paid cash for a $150,000 home. They closed on the home on Luke's wife's 26th birthday. They lived like no one else. And now, they are living like no one else. If you make $80,000 per year and don't have any payments, you can become very wealthy very quickly. Keep in mind, though, that Luke's friends and relatives thought he should be committed. They made fun of his cars, his lifestyle, and his dream. Only his bride and his grandfather believed in this dream. Who cares what the broke people think? Well, there it is. Baby step 6, debt-free and loving it. Our observation of families who stay gazelle intense is that they pay off the mortgage about 7 years from the date they decide to have a total money makeover. I'm sure by now you are reassured that this is not a get-rich-quick audiobook. What kind of author would tell a microwave culture that it takes an average of 7 years to reach the last baby step? What kind of author would tell a soundbite culture that the first 2 steps take a very tough 2 or 2.5 years? An author who has seen it done tens of thousands of times by ordinary people with extraordinary desire to do that. The same author who tells you it's not easy, just worth it. I have used the emotional tag with radio audiences and live audiences. The grass will feel different under your feet when you own it. When you pay off the mortgage, have a barefoot mortgage burning party and invite all your friends, relatives, and neighbors. Maybe they will catch the bug and want a total money makeover when they see yours is really working. Chapter 12. Build wealth like crazy. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Universe of Money. You have reached that perfect number, maybe step 7. By reaching the last step of your total money makeover, you have entered the top 2% of Americans. You are totally debt-free. No house payment, no car payment. You are not mastered by a card. You have not discovered bondage. American excess has left your life, and you are free. You live on a monthly written plan and agree on it with your spouse if you're married. You have a retirement destiny that looks considerably better than Alpo and social insecurity. If you have children, they will be students without a student loan. You have lived like no one else. So now, you will be able to live like no one else. Through sweat and sacrifice, you have reclaimed control of your life and your most powerful wealth-building tool, your income. Baby step 7, build wealth. What is the purpose of your having a total money makeover? Why did you do it? Why all the sacrifice and work? To be in debt and out of control doesn't take nearly as much effort. Why go I can find only three good uses for money. Money is good for fun, money is good to invest, and money is good to give. Most anything else you find to do with it doesn't represent good mental and spiritual health on your part. So if you one day have $18 million, you should do all three of these things. In fact, while you are working the steps to wealth, you should be doing all three of these things. At this stage in the total money makeover, you are Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Universe of Money, with serious abs, pecs, and quads. You have all this financial muscle, so now you should do something intentional with it. We built this financial super body for a reason: to have fun, invest, and give. Yes, we get to have fun. The kid in us likes the fun part of this equation. And since we have made this kid behave for a long time with promises of ice cream, if he does so, he should get some ice cream. Should anyone wear a $30,000 watch? Should anyone drive a brand new $50,000 car? Should anyone live in a $700,000 home? Absolutely they should. The problem with people is they buy those things when they can't afford them. We talked about new cars and what a bad investment they are. Roughly 70% of the people I assist in a total money makeover have to make the difficult decision to sell their car. So some days my talk radio show becomes the Sell the Car Show. Some days it seems my answer to every question is sell the car. Make sure you understand one reason to have a total money makeover is to build wealth that allows you to have fun. So have some fun. Taking your family, even the extended ones, on a 7-day cruise, buying large diamonds, or even buying new cars are things you can afford to do when you have millions of dollars. You can afford to do these things because when you do them, your money position is hardly even affected. That guilt-free enjoyment is one of the three reasons to have a total money makeover. The grown-up inside us likes the investing of money because that is the part that makes us wealthy. Also, the growing dollars are a way of keeping score in our total money makeover game. Are we winning? It truly becomes a game. Sometimes I meet people who arrive at this step and are scared because just as they reach retirement age, their investments are heading down. Never fear. If you have quality investments, they will come back. Besides, you don't need all the nest egg it wants to retire on. You just need some of the income from it. Be patient with the market while living off the income the nest egg produces. You can choose to be a little more sophisticated, but until you have over $10 million, I would keep your investing very simple. You can clutter your life with a bunch of unnecessary stress by getting into extremely complex investments. I use simple mutual funds and debt-free real estate as my investment mix. Very clean, simple investments with some basic tax advantages. Always manage your own money. You should surround yourself with a team of people smarter than you, but you make the decisions. God did not give them the responsibility over this money. He gave that to you. Celebrities and pro athletes often lose their entire fortunes because they give up the responsibility of managing their own money. The Bible states in the multitude of counsel, there's safety. With baby step 7, build wealth, there's a subsection B, another milestone. The second milestone within becoming wealthy is the pinnacle point. Growing up in the suburbs in Tennessee, I grew accustomed to riding a bike and facing hills. To a 7-year-old with one gear, a huge hill looked like Mount Everest. I don't know which kid in history did it first, but the technique for small guy bike hill climbing has been passed down for generations. The switchback. Instead of pedaling straight up, we would painfully go side to side, taking a small bite at a time of our Tennessee mountain. The unpopular players' baseball cards made a slow click, click, click through the spokes as we made our ascent. The heat seemed oven-like, and the beads of sweat turned into rivers. You pull on the handlebars with all the power your arm muscles will produce to push your legs down on the pedals one more time. Push, push, breathe, breathe, till you finally reach the top. What do you find at the top. Those of us that have pushed up some unbelievable hills know what I found that Tennessee summer day at the top of the hill. I found that perfect moment. The perfect moment when you push the pedal one last time before going down a huge hill on the other side. The perfect moment where you hang in the balance after all the sweat, the work, and the agony, and the smile breaks across your face. That moment, just before we take the glorious ride down, is the pinnacle point. And the ride down is glorious. The wind blows through your hair, and your feet are not on the pedals anymore, but up on the handlebars. The click, click, click of the baseball cards becomes a chattering with a sound like 1,000 crickets. You are now enjoying the ride. The coasting is the fruit of your labors. Memories of strain, sweat, and repeated near failure fade as the wind tickles your ears, whispering, "You are the king. You did it. You climbed the hill. You didn't quit. You paid the price to win." A smile in your soul says, "Accomplishment." This baby step takes us to the point where your money works harder than you do. The pinnacle point. It is the instant in time where focused gazelle intensity has reached critical mass, and your money takes on a life of its own. This point is not that you are going to quit life when you get there. You will still manage and direct. The money thing will have its feet up, and you will be going downhill. Wealth will find its way to you. Mistakes on your tax return will be in your favor. The IRS will discover them and send you the money back with interest. Well, that's probably an impossible dream, but you get the idea. When your money makes more than you do, you are officially wealthy. When you can comfortably live on your investment income, you are financially secure. Money is a hard worker, harder than you. Money never gets sick, never gets pregnant, and is never disabled. Money works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You have reached the pinnacle point where you can live off of 8% of your nest egg. Go ahead, multiply your nest egg by 0.08. And if you can live on that number, or that number is more than you make, you are coasting downhill. Congratulations, your money makes more than you do. Enjoy the ride. The most mature part of who you are will meet the kid inside as you learn to involve yourself in the last use of money, which is to give it away. Giving is possibly the most fun you will ever have with money. Fun is good, but you will tire of golf and travel, and if you eat enough lobster, it starts tasting like soap. Investing is good, but going around and around and around that monopoly board eventually loses its appeal, especially after you reach the pinnacle point. Every mentally and spiritually healthy person I've met has been turned on by giving. I can promise you from meeting with literally thousands of millionaires that the thing the healthy ones share in common is a love of giving. Only the strong can help the weak, and that is true of money too. The Bible states that pure religion is actually helping the poor, not theorizing over why they are poor. See James 1:27. Margaret Thatcher said, "No one would have remembered the Good Samaritan if he hadn't had money." The Good Samaritan had a good heart and a heavy enough purse to pay an innkeeper to help take care of the injured man. Money was at its best that day. Money gives power to good intentions. That's why I'm unashamedly in favor of building wealth. Sadly, I meet people who try to avoid this third use of money, mistakenly thinking they will end up with more. Eric Butterworth tells of an interesting system used to capture monkeys in the jungle. The captors use heavy glass bottles with long necks. Into each bottle they deposit some sweet-smelling nuts. The aroma of the nuts attracts the monkeys to the bottles. When the monkeys put their hand into the bottle to get the nuts, the neck of the bottle is too small for a fist to come back out. The monkey can't take his hand out of the bottle without dropping the nuts, which he is unwilling to do. The bottles are too heavy to carry away, so the monkey becomes trapped by nothing more than his greed. We may smile at these foolish monkeys, but how many times has our freedom been taken away by nothing more than our greed? When you have your total money makeover, you can do some things with scale. I have one friend who buys 75 brand new bikes for an inner city ministry every year. He gets these bikes at Christmas and gives them out one at a time to kids in a subsidized housing project. Another pastor friend of mine is involved in a project called Seeds of Kindness. An anonymous member of his congregation gave $50,000 to the congregation members to give away one $100 bill at a time. These $100 bills are given human to human across the city with fabulous results. People who had completely lost faith in God and in the human race are shaken to the core by a simple $100 gift. The givers often report having more fun than the receivers. There are only three uses for money: fun, investing, and giving. You cannot claim total money makeover status until you do all three. As I said earlier, you should begin doing some of each as you go through the steps. And if you are married, let your spouse have some slack as soon as there is some. After you get past the emergency fund step, let each other function in the areas you like best. My wife Sharon is a natural saver, so she always cheats toward investing. I am a natural spender, so I make sure she has fun. We both enjoy giving. Please push that pedal one more time. Switch back if you have to. Failure is not an option. Push, I promise. And the tens of thousands who have reached their pinnacle point in their total money makeover promise, at the top of the hill is a glorious ride down. Take that ride with us.
Another total money makeover success story. Before we began listening to Dave Ramsey, we were a single paycheck family. We had no kids yet, but we did have debt. 2 car notes, 7 credit cards, a line of revolving credit, and a moderate retirement. We bought a nice 4,300 square foot high maintenance home for $250,000. What a mistake. The two of us didn't need that much house. There was no way to justify the payment or the wasted room. We kept trading cars to try to get a BBD, bigger, better deal. But the car equity hold kept getting deeper, or at least stayed the same. I'm not saying it's not okay to own some nice things, but the things owned us. This was demonstrated in revolving debt and increasing marital discord. The discussions in our marriage were frequently over bills. We had no budget, no kids, and no plan. When our first child was born, we'd had it with increasing bills and housing costs. We had been an occasional listener for about 2 years, and I got tired of being that doctor in debt Dave talked about on his radio show. We started to work the plan. With the birth of our second child, we had a financial rebirth. We had paid off the cars. I paid cash for a nice used car for my wife and kids. I chose to drive an older car. We sold the $250,000 house for profit to an up-and-coming politician and bought a home for $133,000 and worked on it for 2 years. We have since bought our dream fix-up home and are having a great time. We have put an addition on our keeper home and will still pay off the mortgage in 10 years or less. It is now a joy to use money and not dread another money discussion. Doing the total money makeover taught us more about each other than any marriage counselor could. We now communicate openly and enjoy being a doctor out of debt, except for the mortgage. John, a physician.
Chapter 13. Live like no one else. You started this audiobook financially flabby, overweight with debt, out of shape in savings, and in desperate need of a personal trainer. However, there is a problem with following the Total Money Makeover plan. The problem is simply that it's a proven plan because it works. If you follow the system, it will work. It will work so well that you are going to become wealthy over the next 20 to 40 years. The problem with becoming wealthy is that you stand a chance of becoming enamored with wealth. According to Proverbs 10:14, a rich man's wealth can become his walled city. In Bible times, the wall around the city was the city's protection from the enemy. If you get from your wealth the idea that you are some big deal because you gathered some money. You missed the essence of a total money makeover. The wealthy person who is ruled by his stuff is no more free than the debt-ridden consumer we've picked on throughout this audiobook. Anton Rivaroli said, "There are men who gain from their wealth only the fear of losing it." Since you have been learning a wealth-building system from me, you might think I believe stuff is the answer to happiness, emotional well-being, and spiritual maturity. On the contrary, I see a real spiritual danger in having great wealth. The danger is old-fashioned materialism. In his great book, Money, Possessions, and Eternity, author Randy Alcorn discusses a disease running amok in America, affluenza. Affluenza is a malady that affects some of the affluent and their children. Because some of the affluent and their children seek happiness, solace, and fulfillment in the consuming of stuff, they end up depressed and even suicidal. They discover bumper sticker wisdom. He who dies with the most toys is still dead. Stuff is wonderful. Get some stuff. Don't let the pursuit of wealth become your God. My wife and I are concerned that our wealth be a blessing and not a curse to our children. So we are tough on our kids regarding work, saving, giving, and spending issues. When one of my kids was a teenager, she complained to me, "You know how tough it is being Dave Ramsey's kid, Dad? You're so hard on us, making us buy our own cars, manage our own checkbook. You cut us no slack." I replied that we are tough on them because one day they will inherit our wealth. And that wealth will ruin their life or become a tool for great good. While wealth is fun, comes great responsibility. Another paradox is that wealth will make you more of what you are. If you are a jerk and you become wealthy, you will be the king of jerks. If you are generous and you become wealthy, you will be most generous. If you are kind, wealth will allow you to show kindness in immeasurable ways. If you feel guilty, wealth will ensure that you feel guilty for the rest of your life. The love of money, not money, is the root of all evil. As a Christian, I am amazed how certain political and religious groups have decided that wealth is evil. Many of the heroes of biblical faith, of world history, and of our nation were very wealthy, including King David, Solomon, Job, and most of our founding fathers. There is a negative mindset justifying money mediocrity that is maddening. Wealth is not evil, and people who possess it aren't evil by virtue of the wealth. If you are a good person, it is your spiritual duty to possess riches for the good of mankind. If you are a Christian like me, it is your spiritual duty to possess riches so that you can do with them things that bring glory to God. The bottom line is, if you take the stand that managing wealth is evil or carnal, then by default you leave all the wealth to the evil, carnal people. If wealth is spiritually bad, then good people can't have it. So all the bad people get it. It is the duty of the good people to get wealth, because the good people will do good with it. If we all abandon money because some misguided souls view it as evil, then the only ones with money will be the pornographer, the drug dealer, or the pimp. Simple enough? I think you can tell by now that the total money makeover is more than just a discussion on money issues. The total money makeover makes you face the man or woman in the mirror. Facing that man or woman makes us face emotional, relational, physical, and even spiritual aspects of our lives. The wealthy people that I know who are fulfilled didn't just have a total money makeover, they had a life makeover. Because personal finance is 80% behavior and 20% head knowledge, you will either make your life over in this process or you'll end up miserable. I'm being very spiritual here at the end. But the spiritual is a legitimate aspect of behavior. I see well-rounded, mature people who become all God designed them to be when they get their money closets cleaned out. God has a plan for your life, and that plan isn't to harm you. It is a plan for your future, to give you hope. See Jeremiah 29:11. Hope is what I want you to walk walk away from this audiobook with.